Hey everyone, welcome to the road to Avengers Doomsday. I'm Jonathan, and every single month I'm going back through the MCU, revisiting each movie and showing you how to make custom LEGO minifigures from every single Marvel film leading up to the culmination in Avengers Doomsday. We've made it a long way so far, so be sure to hit like and subscribe, and let's get into today's movie starting now. Guys, I cannot believe that we are back to Avengers Infinity War. The last time I made this video was over 5 years ago, so to revisit these characters and this epic movie is really cool. I mean, seeing how many new pieces and figures LEGO has given us to work with has really helped expand this roster outward, so I'm really excited to break everything down for you today and show you how to build the best versions of every character from this movie using 100% official LEGO parts and pieces. So with that being said, hit like and subscribe down below, and let's get into it. So as you guys know, I like to do things in chronological order, so we'll start off with Thor and Loki from Thanos' attack at the beginning of the movie. Now, Thor, as you see him here, is the actual Infinity War Thor that we got back in the day. To this day, they've never given us Thor with his eye patch in any sets. Maybe someday as they keep releasing Infinity Saga sets we'll get that, but as of right now, I still think the original Thor is the best to use. You could always take a Sharpie to the one eye and kind of black it out, but I chose not to do that here. And for Loki, I used the head and torso from Loki from Thor Ragnarok from 2017. Then the legs are these dual molded legs with black on bottom, dark blue on top, which have come in several places, like the Build a Minifigure station at one point, but also the LEGO Batman movie accessory pack. You will have to use the eraser method if you want to take some of the printing off of there, though. Then he's got a dark green cape, and the hair actually comes from Tasu Leech from Star Wars The Force Awakens. Up next is Heimdall, and we're basically going with the same design from the Thor Ragnarok showcase 2 months ago. This, of course, gives us the hair from Tasu Leech. The face comes from Daryl from The Office, although it's been used in some other places. And the torso is flipped around, but it and the legs come from Taserface from Guardians Volume 2 in 2017. Now here we've got Hulk versus Thanos. I, in the past, actually used the Endgame version of Hulk, because I do think that that looks pretty good for what we're trying to represent in this movie, but the fact that he's kind of smart Hulk with the smirk doesn't quite interact as well with the angry Hulk that we see in the beginning of this movie during the fight. So what I used here is the 2024 version of Hulk. This actually gives us the turnable head and removable hair and all that, so that's the Hulk I went with here. And this is the original Thanos from 2018 Infinity War, of course, with his completed gauntlet, and I do have an alternate option for Thanos at minifig scale, and of course we've gotten several Hulks at minifig scale you could use over the years, but let's take a look at that minifig scale Thanos now. Okay, so over the last couple years, we've been getting an Infinity War version of Thanos with the torso and, of course, the head, but built at minifigure scale. So if you like minifig scale more than big figs when it comes to play or display, you know, this is certainly an option that we can use. Then the legs are these dual molded legs, which have come in a lot of places, but we do want those black boots and gray pants. These come from Batman from lots of DC sets, but of course, you could get them anywhere. Then I used this gauntlet piece, which came in the Mighty Micros Thanos set. I believe it's come in some other places, but that's where mine is from. And I used paint pens to add the Infinity Stones onto the side, since the regular LEGO one is literally just a gold piece, and I do think it pops just a little more with the Infinity Stones actually on there. Here we've got the Children of Thanos, all of which came out in the 2018 wave of Infinity War sets, with the exception of Ebony Maw. The one I'm using here comes from the Sanctum Sanctorum, which I go back and forth which one I like more. Just for completionist's sake, here's the one from 2018. They both look good, don't get me wrong, but right now I'm in the Sanctum version mode, so I guess that's what I'll put my rubber stamp on as the official one I recommend using. But beyond that, I just switched around the legs. The hips are flipped around, but the leg printing themselves come from the Star Wars Imperial Engineer characters. Speaking of Star Wars, on Corvus Glaive, the legs come from one of the Shadow Troopers, one of the more modern ones that is. No upgrades made to Proxima Midnight, and of course you can't really do anything with the big fig for Cull Obsidian, but man, what a great big fig that was all those years ago. So after the fight with Thanos, Bruce Banner crashes to Earth and of course lands in the Sanctum Sanctorum. Now, he's basically shirtless with like his ripped up Hulk pants on, so this is the actual Bruce Banner for the rest of the movie, what he's wearing. This came in the 2023 Infinity Saga Hulkbuster. It's a really great figure, a nice update from what we'd been getting previously, great back print, and of course, the head has those angry green eyes on them for where he's trying to Hulk out, and even the veins on the side of his head, so it's a really great figure and definitely the best representation for what we want for this movie. In the Sanctum, we see Strange and Wong for the first time, and the Wong I used here is the one from the 2018 Infinity War Bricktober pack. Getting those dual molded legs with printing on the side and the fronts and the hips is literally perfect, as is the torso, and I think that the head is pretty great too. Of course, we've got more modern Wongs that are pretty similar, just with the less detailed torso and legs that would work just fine, as well as the head. So basically, we've never gotten a bad Wong figure. I just have a lot of nostalgia for this one based off of when I got it back during the hype of this movie. For Strange, this is the Spider-Man No Way Home Strange. I just really like the torso, legs, head, and hair combo with the gray on the sides of the hair. Then, of course, he's got the more modern Strange cloak of levitation. The Infinity War Strange is good, but I just really like this look better. That being said, I did add the arms with the gold bands on them from the CMF Sailor because I think that it adds just a nice extra little touch of detail that really makes this figure pop. Alright, Strange goes to find Tony while he's on a run with Pepper, and back when I did this showcase the first time, I did as good of a job as I felt like I could at the time with Pepper, but now, the Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 torso is literally perfect for getting the dark blue with some red accents. Then, of course, the arms from Captain Carter from the LEGO Marvel CMF Series 1 work great, with some dark blue legs and the head and hair combo from Pepper Potts from Iron Man 3. Speaking of Iron Man, Tony Stark over here is the Bricktober exclusive one from that 2018 Infinity War set. Of course, those printed legs, printed arms, all of that is perfect, and it's hard to imagine it being any better than what we got here, so that's what I went with. If you guys are new to the channel, you may not know that I'm not a big fan of the new Iron Man helmet style, so of course I'm going to stick with the 2018 version of this figure. That being said, I will show you side by side the more modern version of it. It's not a terrible figure, don't get me wrong, but I just don't like the helmet print as much as I do the old ones. I felt like the old helmet print ain't broke, so don't fix it. It was that kind of scenario. So I do still recommend using that figure from head to toe, but of course there is a more modern option if you don't happen to have this. So Ned and Peter are then on the school bus and see the giant donut spaceship, and who else is their driver but Stan Lee? Now, in all of my showcase videos, I've been including the Stan Lee cameo, but since we really only see him in the mirror, it's kind of hard to make him as a figure, but this custom figure that I have here was made by Firestar Toys, so he's the only non-official LEGO figure in this video. That being said, for Ned, the torso actually comes from 2003 Peter Parker. It's pretty close to what Ned's wearing. And yeah, there are more modern, versions you could use, but I think that this works pretty well. And the hair, head, and hands come from Ned from the Spider-Man Far From Home accessory pack. Of course, you could also use the combo from the No Way Home Statue of Liberty battle, but I just like this a little bit better. Then for Peter, the hair comes from Han Solo, the head comes from Marty McFly, and the torso and legs are from the Far From Home Venice battle version of Peter Parker. Spider-Man shows up just in time to save the day as Tony is battling the children of Thanos. This version of Spider-Man is from the Sanctum Sanctorum. I do think that it is the superior version of Spider-Man, and this version is what it's supposed to be. We, of course, did get some Homecoming minifigures over the years. Heck, they were also used in Far From Home, but I do think that this version from the Sanctum ultimately is the best version we've got, especially since this was modeled to be from Infinity War. Iron Spider is a figure that only came in one set, ironically, the 2018 Sanctum Sanctorum, so he is our best option for this suit as of this video. He is a very expensive minifigure now. The only thing I changed on this are adding the legs from the 2017-2018 Spider-Man. I guess it was also used in 2019, with the dual molded legs with printing on them, because the legs that came on this do look good for Iron Spider, but they're not dual molded, and I do think it's worth the trade-off in the end. Here we've got Vision in his humanoid form from the Scotland scene, and what I used here is actually the head from Hawkeye from the CMF series. I think it actually works pretty well, especially with that Mr. Incredible, or more recently James Bond hair for the receding hairline. I really think it looks a lot like Paul Bettany. Then of course the torso comes from Doctor Who with dark blue legs. At this point, Vision and Wanda are battling against the children of Thanos in Scotland, and Wanda technically has a more casual outfit on, but in favor of time, we'll just go ahead and skip to her final battle suit from later in the movie. That, of course, is going to be the torso, head, and hair from the Endgame version of Wanda, because they're actually wearing the same thing since she gets snapped and brought back. The only thing we're going to change, of course, are these legs, which come from the Star Wars Imperial Engineer. She's even got her waist cape if you get the Endgame Final Battle version of the figure. And for Vision, I went ahead and used the 2018 version of Vision, which actually also came in 2016 as well from the Tanker Truck Showdown from Captain America Civil War. But the distinction, of course, is making sure that you get the version that has the yellow stone in the head, because if you get the original version from Age of Ultron 2015, the head is based off of concept art, and so the stone in his head is blue. So you want to make sure you get the yellow version, and that's that. Now, of course, there's also the Avengers Tower version of Vision, which is currently out in LEGO stores, but that set is $500, and while that figure does look really good, I still prefer the 2018 version as of this video. Not long into the battle, we get Steve and Natasha showing up along with Sam, so let's go ahead and show you the designs for these figures. For Captain America, I went ahead and used the torso and head as well as the hair from Infinity War Cap because, let's face it, LEGO crushed it with all of those pieces, and they look so great all these years later. The short sleeve arms have black sleeves on top because, as of this video, we haven't gotten dark blue short sleeves yet, so those come from Ethan Hunt from LEGO Dimensions Mission Impossible and are still our best option as of this video. He's got the dark brown gloves from Captain America from this movie, and the legs are the dual molded legs from the police set that I mentioned from the LEGO Batman movie, with the eraser method applied to get the printing off of the legs so that they're dark blue top and black on the bottom for his boots. For Black Widow, I used the head and torso from Black Widow from Infinity War with the hair from Lloyd from the LEGO Ninjago movie. Of course, there is the classic Black Widow hair that actually came on this figure, which I don't think is bad, but, you know, in the effort of trying to show you guys something different, I used the same hair I used all those years ago in the original showcase. The legs come from Electro from the Amazing Spider-Man 2 polybag, and now let's take a look at Sam. So, I don't know if this is just nostalgia speaking, but I do think that the original version of Sam, as far as the torso, the wings, and the head are concerned, are just slightly better for Infinity War than the version we got with Avengers Tower. Now, of course, that version is out on store shelves right now, but also it's $500, and this is probably a little bit cheaper to put together, so it's got that going for it, but I'd love to hear what you guys think down in the comments. Either way, both figures are awesome, and let me show you how to build this one here. These wings come from the 2016 Civil War version of Sam. The torso and head, as well as the hair, come from the Infinity War version of Sam. The arms, while the color isn't exactly perfect, it is the best option we have as of this video, and those come from Barbara Gordon from the LEGO Batman movie. Then the legs come from the Spy from the LEGO CMF series. Like I said, the version of Falcon from the Avengers Tower is just as good, if not equally good here. I guess that's saying the same thing. But either way, you're going to be set. I think I just have a little nostalgia that nudges me toward this option, but I'd love to hear what you guys think. Back in the day, I put together this casual roadie from the encounter at the Avengers campus, or I guess it's the compound. Avengers campus is at Disneyland. Anyways, I just thought this always looked really good for a casual roadie, so this is what I used here. Of course, it's the head from Rhodey from the official sets, with some slick back black hair, the torso from Bruce Banner from Ragnarok and Infinity War, the hip belt piece here from Owen Grady with some regular gray legs, and that's pretty much it. It's still so sad to me going back and watching these movies and realizing Chadwick is no longer with us, but that being said, we have gotten some great pieces to upgrade the T'Challa look since the Infinity War movie came out. So, interestingly enough, the head and torso here come from T'Challa Star-Lord from the LEGO Marvel CMF series, but of course the torso's flipped around. These legs come from Doctor Who, which actually kind of helps it look like he has a tunic on, which I really like. Then of course he's got black arms and the hairpiece from T'Challa from that same CMF I mentioned to complete the look. Up next, we've got Shuri and Okoye, two awesome figures who have definitely gotten some upgradable pieces since the last time I made this video. Of course, Okoye probably has gotten the most upgrades with the brand new torso and head that debuted with Black Panther Wakanda Forever, but are currently available, as of this video, in the Wakanda Hulkbuster, which is an Infinity Saga set. These legs, I always forget where they came from, but I think they're from some kind of old knight from like Castle. I'm sure somebody in the comments will let us know. That being said, Shuri uses the head, torso, and just the regular black legs from Shuri from 2018 Infinity War, but she's got this skirt piece from Marge Simpson on. And she's also got the hairpiece from Bumblebee from the LEGO DC collectible minifigure series. All right, up next, we've got the White Wolf Winter Soldier Bucky Barnes. Got a long name there, and M'Baku. Now, M'Baku actually uses almost all exclusively pieces from the Black Panther Wakanda Forever set. That being said, I did switch out the legs for Tasu Leech's legs from Star Wars The Force Awakens for just a little bit of extra detail. Bucky himself uses almost entirely pieces exclusively from the Bricktober pack from all those years ago, but I gave him a Star Wars sniper rifle there, which looks really good, and the hair comes from Sirius Black from Harry Potter, which I think really completes the figure and makes it look that much more epic. Alright, now it's time to start working through the Guardians of the Galaxy customs. Now, we actually got a lot of the characters in the Infinity War sets back in 2018, but not all of them, so we'll have to go ahead and revisit them all now. Gamora actually doesn't have any upgrades. This is the 2018 Infinity War version of the figure. Basically perfect right out of the box, so no upgrades to be made. Star-Lord, on the other hand, uses the 2017 Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 helmet, which actually was the last time we ever got that figure. Got a helmet. But that being said, we go ahead and use the Chris Pratt head underneath with some regular hair to tie that look together. The torso is the Guardians 2 or Infinity War version of Star-Lord's torso. Nothing to change there. But the printed arms actually come from the Rocket Raccoon Toys R Us polybag from 2014, and the legs, awesomely enough, come from Star-Lord T'Challa from the Marvel CMF Series 1, which of course we used that same Star-Lord T'Challa figure for the T'Challa figure in this video, so luckily you'll already have that part for making this custom, so you could get two for the price of one, so to speak. Mantis and Drax are both amazing minifigures, and as of this video, we did get a more recent version of Drax in the Guardians Milano set from 2024, but that's not going to have the dark blue legs. So you could just take that Drax and put regular dark blue legs with no printing on it, but technically, to get the most accurate version for this movie, I went ahead and used this version of Drax, which was the Guardians 2 version from 2017. Quite an expensive minifig now, but I am telling you a way you could do it cheaper, but without these expensive legs. So that being said, we're going with the best option, and that's what's here. Mantis is a little bit more involved. The legs come from the Lego Ninjago movie version of Lloyd. This skirt is actually creatively used. No cutting is needed or anything like that. You just have to fold it in a creative way so that it doesn't cover the front of the legs, but that comes from Poison Ivy from the Lego Batman movie. The arms come from there as well, but you will have to use the eraser method to take some printing off of there, but that gives you the bare shoulders and the green gloves that Mantis wears in the movie. Speaking of gloves, we are going to use black for the hands to add in a little bit more color variation there. Then the torso, head, and hair could be used from any version of Mantis over the years, so whatever you got will work perfectly fine right here. So Rocket and Groot were interesting to put together for this video because I didn't make any upgrades. It's hard to believe that in the last 6 years since Infinity War came out, I really don't think there's anything to upgrade beyond these. Well, that is to say, I used these legs from the horse guy from the Lego CMF costume character from years ago, but I've been doing that for 6 years. I still think this is the best version of Groot from this movie, and of course the Rocket Raccoon uses the, gray color scheme here, but we also have the blue legs and everything there. Now, we have been getting Rocket with a brown color scheme more recently, and that will allow you to turn his head because this version here has the shoulder pads. The only problem with that is the torso for this figure is brown, and I just don't like the way that the parts all look together. Plus, you get that big gray patch right there at the neck, and I know that that hasn't stopped me on other customs before, but I did try the look here, and to be honest with you, I still think that the gray color scheme works the best for this version of Rocket. Up next, we've got Nebula, and I used the Guardians Volume 2 head for Nebula because the color scheme is the most accurate. You could use the Endgame version of Nebula as well. That would be perfectly fine. It's probably a little easier and cheaper to get, to be honest with you, but whatever you have will work just fine. The torso comes from Star-Lord from 2014, although you could use the more modern version. I still think the 2014 version works just a little bit better to match the print for Nebula, although the new one does have the blue on there, so I don't know, maybe that would work better. But the legs are the same from there, and I just gave her Nebula's arm here to complete the look. Here we've got Eitri the Dwarf, who of course helps Rocket, Groot, and Thor create Stormbreaker, and I really didn't change anything since all those years ago. I think that this version of the figure still looks as good as it can, so what I used here are the short brown legs, the flipped around torso from Tasu Leech from Star Wars, with these big fist gauntlets there, because of, you know, how he appears in the movie. Then if we lift this hairpiece up, you'll see that this is the head from the cop from that Lego Batman movie set I've been talking about throughout the video, and of course giving him the shaggy caveman hair up top really helps pull the look together and makes a pretty dang near perfect figure. Now, in these videos, I'm always committed to making the most accurate version of the figure possible, and since making that video 6 years ago, I'm very grateful to have come in possession of the Collector. This is a figure that LEGO only made 1,500 of for San Diego Comic-Con in 2014, and it's really interesting with, like, the cut cape here, as well as the exclusive printed legs, torso, and head, so I am going to recommend that you use this, but if you want a tutorial for how to build your own Collector not using any of these parts, I've done that video a couple times on the channel, so you can check that out by searching for it, but, you know, with going for the most accurate version, it's hard not to say that that would be this version of the figure. Alright, so we've got the Soul Stone Protector version of Red Skull, and it was so crazy. If you got to see this movie in the theater, which I certainly hope you did, this reveal was absolutely insane. And it gets me so hyped for Doomsday and Secret Wars to imagine what other crazy plans Marvel could have for us, so I'm just counting down the days and super excited. That being said, I used Darth Maul's torso with this cut-up cape, which actually comes from Corvus Glaive from earlier in this video, although it's been on some other figures, with Red Skull's head and, of course, a black hood piece, and the legs, if you could call them that, are kind of like this ghostly vapor from the Dementors from Harry Potter. Getting into the Battle of Wakanda brings us to Black Panther, a really great figure. Of course, the head and torso come from the Black Panther minifigure from 2018, but the arms are these really nice detailed arms that come from General Zod from the Lego Batman movie CMF, with the legs from General Zod from the Man of Steel movie in 2013, and one subtle touch is to use the earpiece on the head there that have the silver lines that come from the 2016 Civil War version of Black Panther. War Machine is another one of those figures that was so perfect out of the box, there's really nothing additional to add. This, of course, is the Bricktober version of War Machine, which had amazing arm printing on both arms, leg printing, toe printing, hip printing, and, of course, the mask can lift up, just like we know and love from Iron Man. And yeah, it's hard to say any ideas to make this figure better because it was so perfect from that Bricktober pack in 2018. Alright, so now we've got the Bring Me Thanos version of Thor, and I love the way this figure turned out. Now, I used the more modern cape for Thor that debuted in 2024. I still don't know how I feel about these rubbery capes overall, but for this specific version of Thor, I think it works out really great. The torso, of course, comes from Infinity War Thor. The head is the more modern version of Thor that has the lightning eyes with the spiky hair, and then, of course, the legs from Tron Legacy from back in the day to show the lightning going all over him. Speaking of lightning, the version of Stormbreaker here is one I built all those years ago, and it uses, well, you could see all the pieces it uses, but I really like this version of Stormbreaker. I think it looks awesome, and to this day, I stand by it being the superior design to what LEGO gave us, which is a little underwhelming to say the least. While far from the least exciting figure in this showcase, it is worth shouting out the Outriders. You know, if you were buying sets back in the day, you probably have 50 million of these, but they were in the movie, so they definitely should be included in the showcase. There were versions with claws and versions with, like, arms coming off their back. Doesn't matter what version you use or how many you have, just make sure you got some Outriders in your collection. And finally, that brings us to our post-credit scene where we have Maria Hill and Nick Fury. Maria Hill is the exact version that came in the Spider-Man Far From Home accessory pack, and Nick Fury is the one we've been getting for the last couple years, but I did add the Captain Marvel pager from the Avengers Tower to really sell the look. So, with that being said, we've worked our entire way through Infinity War, so let's wrap up this video and call it a day. Alright guys, this video was insane to put together. Thank you so much for checking it out and supporting the channel, and be sure to stay tuned because we're that much closer to revisiting Endgame, and then of course all the Phase 4 stuff as we work our way toward Avengers Doomsday. So, hit like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys on the next video.